Hi dear students, welcome to Department of Chemistry, KTHM College, Nasik. So friends, in our previous lecture, we have started our discussion about the 5 important spheres of the environment. The first sphere was the atmosphere, second was the lithosphere, then we studied the hydrosphere, and right now today we are going to start our discussion about the next means the fourth important sphere, that is the biosphere. So our today's task of a discussion is biosphere. So friends, biosphere includes the entire living kingdom. It involves the entire living organisms, that is the biotic component of the environment. This biotic component is the most important sphere of the environment. Very basically, this biosphere allows the exchange of matter and energy. It involves the exchange of matter and energy among the environment. In fact, this biosphere is the interface of the biotic and abiotic component. So obviously biotic component means biosphere, abiotic component is nothing but the atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere. So I would like to tell you that the biosphere is the interface of the biosphere as well as lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere. It involves the exchange of matter and energy between the biosphere as well as the rest of the 3 abiotic component of the environment. So friends, the biotic component and abiotic component, as per as our discussion, they are interrelated with each other. If the biotic component is not there, then the earth surface would be covered by only inorganic component. My intention is to tell you that due to the biotic component, the earth surface has a organic components. Means the in fact the origin of a organic component is from the living organism. Obviously as per as definition, जैसे कि हमने previous studies में पढ़ लिया है, the organic component are those which are derived from the living organism or living thing. So as per as discussion, I have already told you that this biosphere is interrelated to the abiotic component, that is the atmosphere, hydrosphere as well as lithosphere. So we will see how they are interrelated. For that purpose, just imagine, suppose this is your biosphere. This is your biosphere. So when this biosphere interact with the atmosphere, suppose atmosphere, so which component will be the interchange? Obviously the oxygen gas, then carbon dioxide gas and then nitrogen. When the biosphere interact with the hydrosphere, suppose hydrosphere, then what will happen? Then again oxygen, carbon dioxide, then nutrients, then organic matter. Obviously from the biosphere the organic matter goes into the water bodies, means hydrosphere. Next to that, when the hydrosphere interact with the geosphere, that is the lithosphere. Suppose this is your geosphere. So which component will be the interchange? The most important one is minerals and water, H2O and minerals. And next to that, when the atmosphere and the geosphere interact with each other, the interaction will be takes place by the carbon dioxide. It may be through the oxygen and it may be due to the corresponding corresponding H2O water molecule. Got it? In the same way, the biosphere can directly interact with the geosphere also, and in that interaction, which will be the component which interchange? Obviously, nutrients and minerals will be there, and also the organic matter, means the organic matter from biosphere can goes directly into the geosphere, that is on the earth surface. Next, this atmosphere can be interact with the hydrosphere, and during that interaction, atmosphere to hydrosphere, obviously H2O means water molecule will be there. So these are nothing but the block diagram which will give the various interaction of a biosphere with the rest of the three abiotic component: atmosphere, geosphere and hydrosphere. So friends, there are a number of a natural cycle which involves the biosphere. There are number of natural cycle which involves there are number of natural cycles which involve biospheres. Those cycles are nothing but, the first cycle is nothing but the hydrological cycle. Hydrological cycle. The hydrological cycle means what? How the water will move from one water bodies to another water body, how it is circulated, how they interact with the various spheres of the interactions of the environment. We call it as a hydrological cycle. Second cycle is nothing but the geological cycle. Geological cycle. Geological cycle. Geological cycle is related to the lithosphere. And the third important cycle, which is controlled or governed by the biosphere, is the biogeochemical cycle. Biogeochemical cycle. The biogeochemical cycle is the important cycle which involves the interchange of nutrients. It involves the interchange of nutrients. This cycle involves the interchange of nutrients between biotic and abiotic components. Abiotic components. Okay. So friends, as far as the discussion, this is an important one which governs the interchange of nutrients between a biotic and abiotic component. Actually, the nutrients such as carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur undergoes a transition when they move from one station to another station. The nutrients undergoes transition, means it changes from one station to another station. One station to another station. The nutrients are stored in a special storehouse known as a pool. The nutrients are stored in separate storehouse known as pool, or you can say the pools. The nutrients are stored in special storehouse. We call it as a pools. Now there are two pools. One is nothing but the active pool and another is a passive pool. So friends, mind well, we are talking about the nutrients. Means what? Carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, etc. These nutrients are stored in a special house. We call it as a pool. There are two pools. One is nothing but the active pools. First one is nothing but the active pool. And the second one is a passive pool. So what is mean by the active pool? Obviously, the pools in which nutrients are easily available for their use. So the active pool is nothing but nutrients are easily available, and the passive pool is those store in which the nutrients are not easily available. Nutrients are not easily available. So we will go through the example for that purpose. For example, as a source of carbon, carbon dioxide acts as an active pool because the carbon from the carbon dioxide is easily available. So the carbon dioxide is said to be the active pool of carbon. Second is a passive pool. Again, we will take an example of carbon. The carbon from the minerals, that is the calcium carbonate, it is not easily available because it requires decarboxylation of calcium carbonate. Means calcium carbonate upon decarboxylation gives calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide, and then the carbon will be utilized. So for that purpose, we can say that the carbon from calcium carbonate is not easily available. So the calcium carbonate acts as a passive pool and carbon dioxide acts as an active pool for the corresponding carbon atom. So friends, these are nothing but the importance of the biogeochemical cycle. Biogeochemical cycle. So friends, there are certain human activities which causes perturbation. So the human activities, for example, so human activities causes perturbation. Human activities causes a perturbation. Perturbation means what? It is nothing but the disturbance to the various cycles. For example, deforestation. Deforestation. Due to the deforestation, we know that the process of photosynthesis will be reduced, and obviously the level of oxygen will be reduced. The decrease in level of oxygen and increase in level of carbon dioxide will create a stress on the environment. And once the stress is created on the environment, it disturbs the distribution of a microorganism in the soil also. So this is one of the perturbation. Second thing is the burning of fossil fuels. Burning of fossil fuels. Very first thing, burning of fossil fuel decreases the content of a fossil fuel on the earth's surface. First thing. Second thing, the burning of the fossil fuel will release a lot of poisonous, or you can say the pollutants in the atmosphere. For example, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur oxides, nitrogen oxides, etc., etc. These pollutants in the atmosphere again create a pressure on the environment. This stress, this pressure on the environment again disturb the oxygen level, and once the oxygen level, carbon dioxide level will be disturbed, it will again disturb the other biotic as well as abiotic component of the atmosphere. So my intention is to tell you that the human activities such as deforestation, second example is burning of the fossil fuel, will create a stress on the environment, and therefore the composition of the atmosphere as well as the soil will be affected more. Second thing, the bacteria present in the soil will help for that. As far as our discussion, these are the man-made activities which disturb, which create a stress on environment. But in soil, there are certain bacteria which will decompose the sulfates, will decompose carbonates, and during their decomposition, whatever the oxygen released will be utilized for their metabolic activity. So my intention is to tell you that the soil bacteria will utilize the oxygen from the passive source, that is the sulfate, carbonates, etc. And obviously indirectly it will save the oxygen, free oxygen from the active pool. So in this way the bacteria will help to maintain the environment. So friends, it was an account about the some interactions of a biosphere with the atmosphere, geosphere and hydrosphere, and afterward also we discuss the storehouses, active pools and passive pools for the various important nutrients. So you just record all these things by screenshot so that we will proceed towards the important cycles. That is, first of all we will talk about the nitrogen cycle, then we will talk about the phosphorus cycle, and then we'll talk about the sulfur cycle. So friends, first of all we will talk about the nitrogen cycle. First cycle. So we know that nitrogen is most important component. It is a building block of the proteins, amino acid, nitrogen containing organic components also. So nitrogen is building block of proteins, amino acid and nitrogen containing organic molecules. Very basically, N2 is less reactive, or you can say the inert in nature. N2 is inert in nature. This is due to the strong nitrogen bond. As it is an inert one, means the less reactive, so cannot be utilized easily. My intention is to tell you that N2 is the passive source, passive pool of nitrogen. So we can say that it is an passive pool of nitrogen. And therefore, the nitrogen in the another form should be utilized, and therefore the nitrogen in the form of nitrites, nitrates, then ammonia in the form of NH4 plus or NH3 can be utilized. Easily, and therefore these are nothing but the active pool of nitrogen. So mind well, for that purpose we should convert N2 into the corresponding easily utilizable nitrogen. So friends, the process of conversion of N2 into the useful nitrogen biologically is known as nitrogen fixation. Simple one. The conversion of N2 into the useful nitrogen biologically is known as a nitrogen fixation. So we can write it in this way: N2 with the help of water by using nitrogenase bacteria. Nitrogenase gets converted into the corresponding NH3 plus O2. So we should write it in this way: 2 moles, 3/2, 6. Okay, so in this way, the nitrogen is converted into the corresponding ammonia. So another class of bacteria is also there, which convert the nitrogen from one form to another form. That is the nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria. The nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria convert NO2 minus to NO3 minus and NO3 minus to corresponding N2 and NO2, you can say, sorry, N2O. So the nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria convert the NO2 minus to NO3 minus and NO3 minus to N2 or NO2. We can show it by equation also. Suppose this is your free N2. In the N2 cycle, nitrogen cycle undergoes a ammonification. This ammonification is then followed by nitrification, and upon nitrification, with the help of denitrifying bacteria, that is the denitrification, again converted into the N2. So this is the corresponding conversions. This is the complete cycle. N2 to ammonification, nitrification, then again denitrification will give the corresponding N2. Now we will talk about the perturbation of nitrogen cycle by man-made activities. So the next task is man-made activities which perturb the nitrogen cycle. Man-made activities which perturb nitrogen cycle. The most important man-made activity which disturb the nitrogen cycle is the use of excess of nitrogen containing fertilizer. Use of excess of nitrogen containing fertilizer. So in fact, once the excess of a nitrogen containing fertilizer is added into the soil, this excess nitrogen will create a stress and obviously affect on the composition of other components, even biotic as well as abiotic component of the soil, because the bacteria plays an important role to maintain the nutrients in the soil, and therefore it creates a stress on both biotic as well as abiotic component. In fact, as a part of the priority, the first perturbation is due to the use of excess nitrogen containing fertilizer. The second perturbation by man-made activity is due to the burning of the fossil fuel. It is nothing but the combustion of fuels, because the combustion of the fuel will release NO excess in the atmosphere. It was the first case. The second is nothing but the burning of fuel produces NO excess, nitrogen oxides, and these nitrogen oxides creates a acid rain. It creates acid rain containing nitric acid. We already studied how the NOx's are converted into the corresponding nitric acid in the atmosphere, and this nitric acid in the atmosphere then comes down along with the rainwater, and this water is known as acid rain. So friends, it was an account about the nitrogen cycle. You just record this data so that we will proceed to the second cycle, that is the phosphorus cycle. Now the phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus cycle. The phosphorus is an important component of a nucleic acid. Now we know that nucleic acid is present in the nucleus of the cell in the form of DNAs and RNAs. And in DNA and RNA, among the three components, one is nothing but the phosphoric acid. So the phosphorus is important component of nucleic acid present in the nucleus of the cell. The energy driven process involves the ATP and ADP. The energy driven process involves ATP and ADP. Plant utilizes phosphorus for their growth. Plant requires phosphorus for their growth. Next thing is that the solubilization of a phosphorus, which is present in the rock salts or in the form of rocks, is solubilized by the microorganism. The phosphorus is solubilized by microorganisms. So we can say that this is nothing but the biological activity of the biotic component. The important thing is that the phosphorus is recycled by two important processes. Phosphorus is recycled by two important processes. The first process is through food chain. First one is through food chain, and the second is through the aquatic plants, and B is nothing but through aquatic plants. The transition of a phosphorus from one cycle to another cycle, from one sphere to another sphere, from one platform to another platform, involves the speciation. That is the conversion of a phosphorus containing component from one form to another form. But overall, it involves the transition of a phosphorus. It involves the recycling of the phosphorus, and it takes place by two important processes. One is through the food chain and another is through the aquatic plants. Now we will talk about the perturbation of phosphorus cycle. Obviously, this perturbation is due to the man-made activities. The first thing is excess of mining. First thing is nothing but the excess use of phosphorus containing fertilizers. As like a nitrogen cycle, use of excess of nitrogen containing fertilizer which creates a stress on the environment. The same thing happens over here. The use of excess phosphorus containing fertilizer, the unutilized phosphorus which is present in the soil will causes disturbances in the composition of other component of the soil. So this disturbance is, we call it as a stress, and it will affect the composition of other components also. Second thing, excess mining of phosphate mineral. Excess mining of phosphate minerals causes a deterioration of natural assets. The next one, the effluent of a detergent and laundry factories, because we might know that the detergent contains a phosphate. So these effluents from the detergent industries and that of the laundry industries will create the eutrophication, the effluents from detergent industries and laundry causes eutrophication. You know that eutrophication is nothing but the algal nutrition. Once the effluent goes into the common water body, these phosphorus from these detergents and laundry effluent will be utilized by algae for their growth. So the algae will grow in excess amount, and the excess growth of algae, that is the nutrition of algae, will block the water body. We call it as a eutrophication. So friends, it was an account about the second cycle, that is the phosphorus cycle. You just record all these things by screenshot so that we will proceed toward the third cycle, that is the sulfur cycle. Okay, so friends, our third cycle is a sulfur cycle. Sulfur cycle. Sulfur is an important component for the preparation of amino acid, because many more sulfur containing amino acids are there. So it is important component of sulfur containing amino acids. Second thing, sulfur is present in underground water in the form of a free sulfur or pyrite. It is present in underground water या underground deposit in the form of free sulfur or pyrites. Next thing is sulfides sulfide ores sulfates through acid mine drainage. We have already discussed about the acid mine drainage. Next thing, the decay of sulfur containing organic matter. The decay of sulfur containing organic matter produces a sulfur, and this sulfur in the form of corresponding sulfur dioxide is converted into the sulfur dioxide, which is an interact with the water, and it gives the formation of H2SO4. The H2SO4 in the atmosphere will cause the acid rain. So we will talk about the perturbation of sulfur cycle. Obviously, sulfur component will be released in the form of gases when the fossil fuels and petroleums sulfur containing components are burned. So, the burning of fossil fuels coal, petroleum releases sulfur in the atmosphere in the form of sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide. In short, we call it as a SOxS. And once the SOxS comes in the atmosphere and even in the soil, it will create the stress on the environment again, and again disturb both biotic as well as abiotic component of the atmosphere. So friends, you just record this data by screenshot. Okay, so student, I hope you enjoyed the session. Definitely you understand the biosphere, I hope so. So in this lecture we will stop here. In our next lecture we will continue our further discussion. Thank you.